Welcome to Garden Plants with Jim Putnam. In this video, we're going to talk about Skylight Better Boxwood. Overall, the Better Boxwood brand is a new brand of boxwoods that are the first scientifically bred boxwoods to be resistant to boxwood blight. Boxwood blight's a disease we've seen just kind of ravage boxwoods across the globe. And in Europe, they were the earliest to have it and the earliest to work on it. So this breeding is out of Europe. And in this video, we're going to specifically talk about Skylight. There's 4 in the series so far. I expect more to be added later. Skylight may be the most versatile of all of them, as we'll talk about in this video. It's the more vigorous grower, slightly faster growing, and can be used for a lot of different purposes in the garden. Skylight has a rich, medium to dark green established foliage, but the new foliage on it has a slightly lighter green coloration, and it really stands out when it's actively growing. This one is, again, the most robust grower, the Better Boxwood Better Boxwood group so far. Has a really strong root system. Again, it's been tested for about 2 decades for blight resistance. This one's going to get a mature height of somewhere between 6 and 8 feet in height and 3 to 4 feet in width. Very, very controllable at almost any size you'd want to keep it, but ultimately this one will get larger than some of the others. We're not really growing boxwoods for flowers. We're really growing them for this rich green color that they offer and kind of year-round stability in the garden, where, you know, I have these other annual flowers like this vinca's in front of it, and I have you know, other perennials that are going to go to sleep and shrubs that are going to go to sleep, and these boxwoods just kind of hang in through the winter time. We'll talk about matching colors with it in a little while. I've got a container in the back garden with a skylight in it. We're going to show you that you can see, you know, how you can really use boxwoods with color in the garden. These are hardy in zone 5 to 9, so most people watching this video can absolutely grow these. For sun or shade, though, that's going to matter a little bit. If you're in zone 9 in the deep south, you probably want them in some part shade conditions. The reason for it is boxwoods have a fairly shallow root system, and that, you know, lots of 100-degree temperatures during the summertime, upper 90-degree temperatures during the summertime can definitely cause some damage to this, you know, kind of very shallow root system on them. So some sort of afternoon shade is probably ideal for boxwoods in the very deep south. Everybody else, the further north you are, the more sun you can absolutely put them in. This one gets a tremendous amount of sun, but notice the little low fence behind it by 1 or 2 o'clock starts to cast a bit of a shadow across the roots on this plant. And of course I have it well mulched as well. So I'm considering the fact that I have it in a tremendous amount of sun and using my mulched area, my annuals that I'm growing around it, and the fence to kind of combat the fact that we're in a very, very hot area where I'm growing these. Here's a Skylight Better Boxwood planted in a container, a beautiful container. And the container is white. We mixed it with white pentas. That dichondra is blue that's hanging over the front edge, and then the Dusty Miller back toward the upper right area in the container. I just want to really show off how great boxwoods look with light blue colors and white in the garden, how they really make those kinds of things pop. You could see it next to the agave out by the front as well. So really look great in the garden if you're combining with whites and blues, looking for things to use, you know, would that really make your boxwoods pop, and the boxwoods make the blues and the whites pop as well. Tremendous amount of uses for Skylight Better Boxwood, really. This one's going to be adaptable for almost any project. So it could be, because it gets tall and narrow naturally, it could be a corner foundation plant. It would be a good low screening plant. If you're going to plant them as a tight screen, you'd probably plant them within, you know, 2 feet apart. If you want them to just kind of stand alone and be, you know, that upright natural habit, you'd probably want them 3 to 4 feet apart, something like that, planting them. That just depends on the kind of project you're using them for. But this one could go under low windows and be kept low. It could be used as a low hedge. It can be used as an upright hedge. Just a tremendous amount of uses for them. We can make very formal gardens out of them, accent plants. And again, this is a great container plant because I'm in zone 8 in Raleigh. I can leave this boxwood in this container over winter because it's zone 5 hardy and have no problem with it. So where we can switch out from the summer annuals, summer perennials that we have in the container right now. We can come back in here with white pansies or something like that in the winter time, or something that has a blue foliage through the winter time, and just kind of duplicate this right through the winter, and that boxwood will stand up beautifully. With the more vigorous growth habit of Skylight, this one definitely lends itself to topiary projects as well. Boxwoods make fantastic topiaries, so you can select one as you're buying them, select one with it kind of has an upright central leader on it. You know, if you're buying one to topiary, and it'll be super, super easy to turn this one into a 1-ball, 2-ball, 3-ball topiary, something like that. One of the great things that makes boxwoods so easy in the garden is their adaptability to different soil types, to different soil pHs, to clay soil, sandier soils, that kind of thing. As long as they're not sitting in a really boggy area, they're really very adaptable to different kinds of conditions. And one of the reasons they've been used throughout history, in garden projects. And again, here it is next to that agave with that blue. Over there. I just think it makes any color like that really stand out and pop quite a bit. I consider boxwoods pretty drought tolerant once they're established, once they've been in the ground for a couple seasons, but they do appreciate, during abnormally dry times to be watered. And when we water something like this, I want to water it really thoroughly and then kind of walk away from it. And don't give it that little bit of water daily kind of thing. But it would prefer to be on its own irrigation system, like where your shrubs and plants are separate from your lawn and not like overlapping with lawn irrigation on something like this. So that when we water it thoroughly, and then we just kind of walk away and let them dry out between. Again, I said adaptable to most soil types as long as it's kind of pretty well drained. If you're in clay-based soils, we'll raise them up just a little bit to make sure they're not going to sit in water. That shallow root system, again, can cook. In absolute direct sun. So make sure they're well mulched. We're keeping the weeds away from them, and very, very easy plants in the landscape. We fertilize this garden once a year, late winter, early spring, with an organic fertilizer. And we have the mulch out here underneath the plant breaking down and helping feed the plants as well. And that's completely adequate for this boxwood. If you're trying to push something as a future hedge, you might want to have a second round of fertilizing. I would just do that early summer, somewhere around in there. And if you're trying to get a little bit faster growth out of them for the first few years, but after that, they really just don't need a whole lot of extra fertilizer. Pruning can be done in the late winter and pretty much any time throughout the growing season without much of a problem. We see what people do, how people keep boxwoods as perfect little squares, and they prune them frequently throughout the season. I generally stop on my leafy evergreen shrubs like this. I stop pruning sometime mid to late summer because I don't want them, because a lot of times pruning can encourage growth, and I really don't want them kind of actively growing as it's getting super cold outside. So I limit my pruning on them from, let's say, March until mid-July, something like that. And I think that's the perfect time frame where you can just kind of prune it whatever day you wanted to prune it without much of an issue. These are incredibly deer resistant, which is one of the other reasons that that folks use these in the garden. Rabbit resistant, some of those pest related issues. And of course, again, this was the first kind of scientifically observed blight resistant boxwoods, and that's the reason that they've been introduced, and hopefully just kind of reintroducing them into some areas that were just really hammered with boxwood blight over the last few years. Other than that, pretty easy, straightforward landscape plants that offer you something year-round in the garden. So as other plants that are around it again are going to sleep or retreating for the winter, the boxwood just absolutely shines in the garden and gives us something really stable year-round that we can just kind of build the other things in the garden around. So this is Skylight Better Boxwood from the Better Boxwood brand, and I think that all four of these are fantastic plants. Skylight may be the most overall adaptable to almost any situation that you have in your garden. Thanks for watching.